So the main motivation for this project is to give a visual representation of a person's heart rate as it relates to training zones. Our device will act as a heart rate monitor for people who are looking to lead a healthy lifestyle. So the point of training zones for heart rate is to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease and promote longevity by elevating the heart rate into target zones. By working the heart out for short periods of time, the heart will become stronger and have a lower resting BPM, thus decreasing the work that the heart has to do while at rest. This can lead to lower rates of cardiovascular issues and promote longevity. And when performing target zone training, many people wear a heart rate monitor. So there are 5 main zones of heart training. The first zone is called the warm-up zone, which occurs at approximately 50 to 60% of the person's max heart rate. This zone is a good target zone for people who are just starting out to try and get in shape. The second zone is called the fat burning zone, which is about 60 to 70% max heart rate. This zone is more intense than the first and burns a few more calories. The third zone is called the endurance zone, which occurs at approximately 70 to 80% maximum heart rate. Working out in this zone will improve respiratory and cardiovascular health. The fourth zone is the performance training zone and occurs at 80 to 90% max heart rate. This zone will improve endurance and help fight fatigue. The fifth and final zone is the maximum effort zone, which occurs at 90 to 100% heart rate. And this zone should be reached only briefly if the person is in very good shape. Our device utilizes 5 LEDs to alert the user which zone their heart rate is in and can help improve training techniques and results.
Alright, Dave here is hooked up to our ECG, as you can see, and we'll be demonstrating how our array of LED lights work. The basic concept is that there are 5 LEDs, and the lowest one, which as you can see is lit right now, corresponds to any BPM below 70, and as you can see his BPM is at 57.9, which is actually below the bradycardia limit, and that's lit up too. Here's the Pan-Tompkins output, and you got a nice QRS. The T wave is quite large, but as you can see we have a pretty good peak detection down at the bottom. We're going to try to get Dave's heartbeat to raise up, and we're going to watch these lights move up from the lowest green there. There's 2 other greens, a yellow and a red. The second green here is between 70 and 80 ppm. The third is between 80 and 90. It dropped back below. And
Might need to do some exercise.
The fourth here is between 90 and 100, and the red is between 100, or is over 100, excuse me. So
yeah, let's just stop and then I'll do some exercise and then
Alright, as you can see here, Dave's working hard. Doing a little exercise, trying to get the heart rate up.
Get it going.
And all the EMG signals really giving us a false reading on the BPM right now. And obviously we're reading tachycardia. It's also reading very high, but now that he's stopped, we're going to watch it drop down to a more normal range. As you can see, this is starting to level out. His BPM is up over 140, and obviously tachycardia.
Yep.
And as you can see, all the lights are lit up, and that's over 100, and that's the way it should be. And we're going to watch it drop down slowly, a little bit at a time, and we're going to watch the lights go off. It's going to be tricky to show both the computer output and the lights, but we're gonna give it our best shot. ECG is looking pretty good. Dave's tired.
Okay, we're getting close.
Alright. So as soon as it hits a range in the 90s, we'll show you that the light goes off. Alright, perfect. And as you can see, the red turned off, and it's going to continue to drop, and they're going to continue to turn off slowly. He's in the normal range here. There's 3 on,
Yep, no, I'm in the 70s.
and now he's in the 70s, and there's 2 on. And eventually he'll get down back below 70. He's at about 74 right now.
It could take a while to recover.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Now he's in the 60s and back to normal.
Oh, back to 70.
Little jump there. He got nervous. So this is the portion of our code in the ECG part of the project that involved calculating the BPM of the heartbeat, and we're actually going to use that output here to light up or turn off a tree of LEDs based on how fast the heartbeat is going. So I'm going to kind of run through the logic of this circuit and how it interacts with the Arduino and how we detect in the Arduino the values we're outputting from LabVIEW. So the basic idea here is that the BPM is being calculated, and this is nothing different than what we had before. In fact, we still output tachycardia and bradycardia alarms, as well as when the heartbeat is normal, we output that. And the same idea is going to apply to writing to the Arduino. So, for example, we are measuring when the output of the BPM, the beats per minute, is greater than 100. And normally we just use that to signal tachycardia. However, here, we're taking that same output and we're doing 2 things with it. The first is we're sending it to a shift register. And this will be used for some logic in order to implement a write only one time rather than every time we read values as peaks of the QRS. And so what we do is we also send that signal into this AND logic statement, and the previous value from the shift register comes back and is knotted. And the reason we do this involves kind of a complicated logic statement, but basically if the old value is false and the new value is true, we obviously want to enter the circuit block and write. And if we take the old value and we knot it to true, and we take the new value, which is true, and we put them in an AND block, it will tell the LabVIEW to write to the Arduino. However, if you flip that and the new value is false and the old value is true, and we knot the true statement from the old value, we will get false out of the AND block, and we won't enter the loop which writes to the Arduino. And we're going to do that with every single one of these write statements. And these little blocks here are write statements. And what these will do is they'll write to the serial port of the Arduino, and we can actually read that in our Arduino code, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And the basic idea is that we're going to use essentially an indexing system where for each case, which our cases are below 70, between 70 and 80, between 80 and 90, and between 90 and 100. And for each case, we're going to output an index value. And in the Arduino code, we'll actually look for that index value, and we'll be able to control the LED lights with that. And so that's the main idea of the LabVIEW code here, is we're just using the BPM value we already calculated, and we're allowing ourselves to convert that to an index code which can be read by the Arduino. Okay, now we're in the Arduino code for the LED project, and here we will be reading in the values we sent from LabVIEW, and we'll be using those to turn on or off our LEDs. And so earlier in this code we just declared the pins that our LEDs would be at, and then we obviously set up those pins to be outputs, and we write low values except for the lowest green LED, which will always have a high value. And then what we're going to do is the first statement in our main program loop, will be if serial.available is greater than 0. And what this means is that if a value has been written to the serial port, this statement here will be greater than 0. And we don't know exactly what it'll be. In our case, it will likely be 1, because we're just writing less than 8-bit integers, so they can all be contained within a byte. And then the second thing we do is we set our LED flag to serial.parseInt. And when we write a number from LabVIEW, it will actually write as a character. However, because the only characters we're writing from LabVIEW are numbers, and we know this, we actually can just parse those characters right into integers and use basic logic to determine which integer we wrote to the serial port. And so the first thing we did was, back in LabVIEW here, we write a 1 here when the tachycardia is present. And this means that the BPM is far over 100, or anything over 100 for that matter. And what we do is we turn on all the LEDs. So everything will be high here, and goes all the way up to the red LED. And then after that, we just sequentially turn on one more LED each as we hit each milestone between below 70 and up to 100. And so 2 will be below 70, and everything is low here, except for the first LED, which we leave on all the time. 3 here is 70 to 80, and that will turn on 1 extra LED. 4 here will be 80 to 90. 80 to 90, and we turn on 2 green LEDs, and anything above 4, which happens to be just 5 here, will turn on everything except for the red. And so we'll get all the way up to the yellow. And that's really all there is to it in the Arduino. Not very complicated code, and that's exactly what we want.